welcome everyone who's listening to the first episode of the Degenerate podcast. And I've got the amazing Rob Price on today. Rob's actually doing the studio media at the minute, and he's helping me through this podcast today. So if there's anything on the podcast that you find a bit, Rob's helping me through it. So Rob, how are you?
Apparently amazing. Oh, you just called me amazing.
You're amazing, bloke.
Hey, that's the first time I've heard that this week.
You must hear that every week.
Oh,
dude.
yeah, I would like to think so. I'm all right, thank you. Are you?
Good, yeah, I'm very good, mate. I'm very good.
Good.
So I've got you on this podcast because it was, I suppose, a little bit of a surprise, really, when I said to you that I wanted you to be on the podcast.
Yeah.
Because I find you a very interesting guy.
Okay.
Yeah, we've had a few conversations before about the studio, about talking about media things, our ideas, and you're quite alike in myself in terms of you're quite passionate about what you do.
Yeah.
You love everything. You get excited about stuff. I can see it in your eyes now. You get, you're smiling like you love it, absolutely love it. And we had a few conversations in Costa, didn't we? And I just found you really, really good to talk to. And them sort of people that you just want to know more about.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you are one of them people. So.
And that's me. Amazing. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You've definitely got a few stories to tell. And obviously because of what you do is a very creative thing as well. It's something that I want to talk about. The podcast in general was the idea was that I want to talk about the drive in people, why people do certain things and the creativeness of why they do it, how they think about it and the motivation behind it and what the end game is, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And there's so many people out there that do things that they're scared to do stuff, do you know what I mean? They've got a passion, but they're scared to make the step.
Yeah.
Or, or they're suffering from some sort of mental illness or something that's stopping them. There's a block. And we all go through the same sort of stuff, but there's ways around it.
Yeah.
There's different ways to get through things. And there's certain people on the podcast that I've got lined up that I believe can help other people.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And also, I just love talking to you, Rob.
Oh, well, I love talking to you too. I think this is like the beginning of a bromance, isn't it?
I'm looking into your eyes. You know what I mean? I'm loving it. I'm loving it.
Stop it! I don't know where to look now.
It's the beard. It's the beard. Every time.
Next time I come here, I'm going to have it shaved off and like a disguise or something. I don't know.
Right. So I'm a bit amateur at this. Obviously, I've took some notes and I'm going to go through my notes. Yeah.
Okay.
Just because it's going to give me a bit of a method to the madness of how we're going to start the conversation.
Sounds good to me.
Right. So at the minute, you're obviously a videographer, photographer.
Yeah.
You're also teaching people how to do piano.
That's right.
Yeah. So really, I want to start off with how long have you been doing the media for now? Because you actually did a promo for this studio. Was it about 7 years ago?
I don't know if it was 7. I don't know if it could have been like 5 or something.
Oh, was it? I thought it was about 5,
something like that.
Years ago.
Well, I've been doing photography for 15 years or something like that. And I had a studio in Tamworth, which was based around like portraiture and stuff like that. When that ended, I went straight into media.
So when did you with that transition? When was that?
Oh, I don't know. Probably 5 or 6, maybe. I don't know, 7 years ago.
Okay.
Something like that.
So what did you do before that? How did that kind of idea come?
Well, before the media, I did photography.
Okay.
And we did family portraiture.
Yeah.
1,000 photo shoots a year, 20 a week.
Yeah.
Of families, on the typical white backgrounds and stuff.
Yeah.
And while it was popular.
Yeah.
And we had a great big studio and lots of other things going on. I always loved photography. I was completely self-taught. And my first portrait, actually, I hired a studio and I'd never seen a family portrait done ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you imagine you being a tattoo artist and being given a tattoo gun and be able to draw a bit and then going, right, I'm going for it today. Yeah. I expect there's a point as a tattoo artist that's the case where you have to take the step.
Transition, yeah.
But I did the photo shoot and I was like, try and move this way, try and move that way. And I was like, oh my God, I'm dying inside. This job is impossible. And then at the end of the photo shoot, they bought hundreds of pounds of pictures.
No way.
And I was like, this is amazing. That was so easy. Everything changed because that customer liked what I did.
What attracted you to photography in the first place?
I like the thrill. It is a thrill of creating lovely images. You know, when you press a button, there's a thing where if you're with other videographers or photographers and you take a shot, like I work on weddings and there'll be a photographer and I'm the videographer and I'm like, oh, that shot. You know, I bet you get that with tattoos and like, look at that, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Look, and as soon as you've taken the shot, you just want to show people because, like, how amazing is that? Now, videography and photography are so similar, as in the composition and stuff like that. But the combination of film and music is what made me want to do it. Do you know what I mean? I love music, and I love filming, and it's quite difficult to do.
Yeah, no, I can imagine, yeah.
It's not an easy thing, and it's because in photography you take a picture and you edit it a bit, and it's done. In video, you film loads.
You got to cut it,
and then you can have, and it's sort of beauty's in the eye of the beholder. You know, I can never think of the word, but it'll come to me. Where I show you a video that I've done for you, and you may like it, and then 3 other people may not like it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So how did that transition you had from photography to videography?
Yeah.
Was that a bigger step, or how did you find that transition?
Do you know? It was a massive step.
Yeah.
I had some time off in between. I struggled owning a business where I had staff.
What brought you on to creating your own business and your own idea? Did you have that in your mind early on, or what was you thinking?
At the time when I started the photography, I only wanted to do it as a part-time thing.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it took off, and it went way too fast. And you know, if you ask my family, all I wanted to do was take over the world. I was at that time in my life where I think everybody has it, where money is really important. And actually, being older now, it's not as important as I thought it was.
Yeah.
You know, so I used to work a lot of hours and all that kind of stuff. But it grew too quick and I didn't know how to deal with it. I had lots of people working there and I hated having people work for me. I'm a worker, not a boss, you know. So the transition then, I fell out of love with photography after I closed that place.
Why?
Because it made me ill.
Really?
Yeah, I ended up, I was in hospital twice through anxiety and thought I'd had a heart attack.
Just the pressure of the work or the demand? Or?
The demand, the money, the tax, the everything, you know. The numbers I was used to paying, the tax before, this was 10 times more. And, you know, when you've got staff and stuff like that, it's really difficult to manage that cash flow in order to keep everything afloat.
Yeah.
You know, so sometimes you'd be within 3 days of your corporation tax bill and you had to pay the wages. And you hadn't got enough. You had to choose one or the other. It's got to be the wages. You know, you try and take your accountant's advice and save this percentage and stuff, but it's not always possible. So, yeah, it put me under a lot of pressure.
And what did you go through there? So obviously you said that you made you ill.
Yeah.
Did you go through a stage of...
I got myself in the right, not financial mess, but mental mess, I think is the right way of putting it. So if, I remember once I was showing some people some pictures, we had a viewing room, and I felt this pain come on in my chest, and I thought, oh man, this is bad. I'm going to have a heart attack now. And my daughter was working on the reception, I remember. And I said to her, I'm going to have to drive to the hospital, being a man and not phoning an ambulance. I drove to the hospital thinking I was having a heart attack. When you get to the hospital and you tell them you've got chest pains, you may as well be having a heart attack because they won't let you do anything. They put you in a wheelchair, they put you in a blue light ambulance, and which is enough to give you a heart attack anyway. So I spent, I don't know, well over half a day in the hospital trying to find out what was wrong, ECGs and stuff. And it ended up being anxiety.
Wow.
Yeah, but it was really bad, like very painful, and I felt absolutely awful.
Yeah, my dad went through a similar stage when he was teaching, actually.
Yeah.
So he was going through a rough time in his personal life. He suffered a lot from his dad passing a long time before, and he was into teaching. And my dad was a good people person, so all the students absolutely loved him. And he always taught like the shitbags.
Yeah.
You know, the people that kind of got the lads got chucked out of high school.
Yeah.
To do like construction or and the school just kind of leave them gone. You go do that. You know?
Yeah.
And he took all them on, and he related to them so well. And he was a really good teacher, and he was a people person. All the kids loved him, but he hated like the hierarchy. So in teaching, there's a lot of bullshit, a lot of paperwork, and that really drove him to the point of ill. He was ill, and he had really bad anxiety and stress and depression. To the point where he, as you say, he was on chest pains. He was sick. He was just being sick randomly in the day, and do you know what I mean? Just from that high intensity of anxiety, like he was pale white. Do you know what I mean?
That's terrible.
Yeah,
that hierarchy and everything. I was at the top.
Yeah.
Of that, so I had to decide what other people did, and I'm not good at that. You know, my son, who's behind the camera, the other side over there. He's worked with me and for me, and I'm not a very good boss. I find it difficult to give people instruction without being rude. You know, I always feel like I'm putting on somebody when I ask them to do stuff.
Yeah.
You know, and that
I get that,
brings on that anxiety. You know, like when you have to ask somebody for money and they owe it you, and it's that awkward conversation.
Yeah, I had that transition. To be honest, I knew before I was a tattoo artist, I was actually, I used to work in Amazon.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I worked in Amazon 5 years.
Yeah.
And I built myself up to, I was actually an area manager at the time. So I had that sort of, I knew what it took to manage people.
Yeah.
And what the way to manage people is to relate to people.
Yeah.
And in a way, you've got to understand every single person. And you don't necessarily manage everyone the same because people react to different things, you know. So when I took the studio on, obviously I've become a man. You know, I've got to manage people. I'm the boss. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you've got to essentially put yourself into a different persona. You know what I mean? You've almost got to act. You got to imagine yourself how a manager should be, and put yourself in that persona, and don't become emotionally attached to every decision you make. Yeah. Do you know what I'm saying? Because you've got to make a decision for the business, but also you've got to relate to the person.
How do you do that? Separate the emotional attachment thing.
It's tough, but as I say, you've almost got to act. Does that make sense? Like you've almost got to put yourself into a different person.
So is it like James's other personas telling you what to do?
Essentially, yeah. You've got to go, right, this is where I've got to click into action now. Because everyone that works here, I have an emotional attachment to, because a lot of them are my friends. Do you know what I mean? I've known them for a long time. I've worked with them, and when it comes where I've got to make a decision, I've got to switch, which is is difficult, and not many people can get there. And sometimes you won't make the right decision. Sometimes you will become too emotionally attached. Yeah. And you won't make the right calls, and you'll look back and go, I was too attached to that decision or that person at that time, and I didn't make the right call, which is, you know.
I'd love to be able to do that. Do you know, I don't know if you have the same thing, but if something goes wrong for me in a day, as in I make a decision, it ruins my complete day.
Really?
Yeah, I'm unable to recover.
In terms of what though? Like what sort of decisions?
I don't know. Say, for instance, I wanted to edit a video this morning, and then something else took over that I had to do. Yeah. But I'd planned to edit that video. Oh, man.
Takes you off.
Wow.
So when you plan your day,
do
you have like a plan? Do you set yourself out every single detail to your day? And if something goes out, it sends you off. Because my wife, right, she'll be days ahead.
Will she?
Days, like 4 or 5 days. She'll say to me, like the other day, she said, "Oh, what we doing Sunday?" I'm like, we've just gone past Sunday, do you know what I mean? She'll be like, yeah, well, what's the plan for Sunday? We don't need to plan anything for Sunday, but she wants to know, she has to know a plan. So she'll say, right, so do the hours. So I'll go, right, 9 a.m. we'll get up, we'll have breakfast, 10 a.m. we'll go to the gym, and then by 12 we'll do this. And she has to have a structured plan. If something goes out, it whacks her out. Like it'll almost like her brain will go like backwards a little bit, and she'll stop working for about 10 minutes.
Do you know, when something goes out for me, that's it.
Really?
The day's gone. And I used to do a big list every day. And on my calendar, it will say like 7 till 9 editing for this client. You know, like yourself, that when I do your work, it'll be this client, this client, this client. I can't do a full day for anyone. Because you lose your creativity after about 2.5 hours.
On the same project.
Yeah. So, you know, I'll edit 4 weddings at a time over 3 days, you know, but I'll keep dipping in and out of them because it's an easier way for my brain to focus on it.
Wow.
But if something, I have to write down what time I'm going to have a break. And because I'm my own boss and I work on my own, I have to really stick to that. You know, that's my reward for working. Because it's just my cup of coffee time.
So how do you, when you're doing multiple projects, so I struggle to relate to that because I struggle with that.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing a design for someone, I'm drawing something, usually I have to finish that project before I flip it.
Yeah.
I will come back to it now and again, but I struggle to change my frame. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like that's why often I'm not a great artist to... usually every day I have one person in and I'll do a day sitting. Yeah. Where some artists will do 4 or 5 different projects a day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And my brain just can't cope with that. I don't know why. I just have to have the one thing in front of me and I work on that. How do you separate that in your mind?
I have it set in 2-hour blocks. Yeah. So, for instance, on a Monday, I edit for a gym. Yeah. 7 till 9 on a Monday morning. At 9 o'clock, I'll have a coffee. I've already had my breakfast, take the dog for a walk and all that stuff before that. And then, say 20 past 9, I treat myself to a YouTube video. And then 9:30, I'll start again, the next client. And so, you know, once I've got rolling with a client, we know what we're doing and all that kind of stuff. I've just got my headphones a bit stuck there. Once we've got rolling, then we know what times and days I'm editing. You get bored as an editor. Imagine drawing the same picture. Like I film loads for gyms, so there's lots of content which looks really similar. So 2 hours is enough of that. Whereas if you get your teeth stuck into a project, like I'm doing the promotional film for here, I have to leave that till I've got a day where I can go, all right, I'm going to have a good time with that, you know, and sit there. Because like the idea we had that I sent you the other day for the start of the promo, that's going to be really good. Yeah. But it takes a lot of time and effort. So that you'd have to get it in one chunk, which would probably take 6-8 hours. But I'd do that over 12 hours in a day. Because you do lose your creativity. Well, I do anyway. I think my nature is I get bored easy. So I need lots of different clients rather than just one big one.
What burns that creativity there? Where does that inspiration sort of come from for you? Do you watch a lot of YouTube or Netflix documentaries?
I love Netflix documentaries. I watch anything.
Do you have a particular sort of like director of documentaries you follow, or?
Not really. No, I like pretty much anything. Yeah. I'm quite. TV generally is on in the background, but then I'll look at it occasionally and think, "Oh, that's cool," you know, because it just has to take my eye. You know, I think I do a lot of tutorials. Still, all the time. I believe that you should train all the time. Yeah. So, can't remember his name. There's a chap called Mark something. He does a thing called The Art of Documentary. And I've wanted to do that for ages. So I'm signed up for September to do that. And I like learning.
Yeah.
I've got a real thirst for learning, and I seem to be able to hold on to the information quite easily. So each day there'll be something that I'll have a quick look at.
Yeah.
Because you can't. There'll be things that you've done before, like the old degenerate video where I wrote the names in animation.
Yeah.
I couldn't remember how to do that. Right, I remember it taking ages, but then I had a look the other day, and it, 5 minutes later on the internet, I was able to find out how to do it, and I know what to do now again. But it's handy because back in the day, I've got a runny nose. What's going on here? Ha ha.
The heat.
Yeah, for the people that are listening, I've just wiped my nose. It's creativity. I think comes from passion projects rather than paid projects. Passion projects teach you stuff for no money, whereas paid projects, you use the stuff that you've learned from the passion projects to develop your career.
Yeah. Do you find, so in the tattoo world, it's the bigger artists, the more established artists, clients are kind of going to them for a particular style of work. You know, they're looking at their style of work and saying that's what I want. That's the sort of thing I want, and they're relatively open to the artist for them to do what they want in a sense. You know, do you have that sort of with your sort of work as well? Do people come to you for a Rob Price style movie, documentary, or
I think,
or just in quality in general?
It's more the other way.
Really?
I tend to choose the people that I'd like to work with. That sounds really facetious, but it's not. I think, right, I like them. What they do is really good. I'm going to ask them if I can make films for them.
Okay.
I do get, obviously, recommendation things, but you're never as interested unless you're a new client watching this. I'm not cutting off my nose to spite my face, but you're never as interested in something if they've asked you.
Yeah.
When you've said, I'd really like to work with you as a videographer, and then they go, yeah, that gives you inspiration straight away. Because like me and you are on the same page, we know what we're doing. With this stuff and all the filming, photography, everything. Whereas some people just don't get it. Old style gyms, like martial arts gyms and stuff, have no clue about social media and how important it may be. Whereas new gyms, they're just up and coming, all about it. And I really like that. So I tend to do regular weekly work for those kind of companies. Yeah. And we've become really good friends. However, the friendship stuff is really difficult when, like we said earlier, about when you're talking about money. Because once you've crossed the line from business relationship to friendship, when it becomes a financial thing, wow. And when you said about that, like emotional separation, how do you say to somebody, that grand you owe me, you've owed it for too long and I want it right now? How do you do that?
Yeah. No, I feel that. We, there's a similar, I get the friendship thing because we've got, obviously in the tattoo world, you always have friends that you they'll often bring themselves to you in the pub and say, remember that time where you went to the park when we were 14 and we was really good friends? Can we have when's your next sitting?
And really?
And they're looking for some sort of discount or free tattoo. But early on you kind of sucker up to that and you're like, yeah, come in next week, we'll do you something, and then you quickly learn that people just are after things and they'll never give you anything in return. And
do you know, I got asked this week by one of my regular web clients. Yeah. They won't mind me saying because I've already spoke to them about it, and they probably won't watch this anyway, But I got asked to make a film of a party for like 9 hours, completely free of charge. Wow. I'm like, can I stay in your place? can I have part of your business for 9 hours?
I think, you know what I think it is? The difference is people have a perception of creative things to be easy.
Yeah.
Right. So they think that you just got a camera.
Yeah.
They think that you're just drawing.
Yeah.
They don't see it as something that they should pay for, and it's just something that you like doing as a hobby.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they don't see it as a profession as such.
It's not like you've mended somebody's car and got your spanners out and dirty hands. It is, isn't it? It's just your mind.
It's a different skill, and we're lucky here. We don't really have. We have really good clients who they come for high quality work.
Yeah.
And you'll have the same where people come, they appreciate what you do, but you do sometimes get the flip of that.
Yeah.
And they don't understand the price, and you've got to try and say, well, look, this is a creative process. Like for us, obviously tattoos are obviously very expensive. Sometimes we forget that because when you do your job, you forget how much things cost. Yeah. But people forget the hours you put in. Do you know what I mean? Like the editing for you. Like, sometimes they don't think about the editing. Yeah. You know what I mean? That takes you days and days and days. They don't think about that. Where same for tattooing. So we'll draw something at night at 11 p.m. till 2 a.m. in the morning. Yeah. And they don't see that. Do you know what I mean? All they see is that image you send them, and that is it. Yeah. And that's the difference, I think, where they don't quite see the value in it.
Do you know what? When I've had lots of tattoos, and I've got a gripe with day rates and tattoos and stuff. It's not about degenerate, just in general. Yeah. When you have a conversation about a day rate, you're going to have to settle this for me. Go on. In your day rate eyes, and across the board, am I doing the interview now, by the way? As the across the board day rate, what's your understanding of how that works?
In terms of what?
In hours.
So the process of how they calculate a day rate is that
as in, so if I was to come here for a day rate, and I don't know, say, have that done, and we started at 10, would you just keep going till it was done? Yeah. Or would you say, okay, it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon, that's your day rate up?
Yeah. I love this question. Yeah. Absolutely love this question. So I was quite fortunate early on. The guy that the previous studio I was at, it was a day rate was you're there all day. Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't care if I did 8, 9, 10 hours. Okay. As long as I finished that piece. Yeah. Then that's it. Okay. I'm charging you the day. So 400 quid. I'll be here for 10 hours. It's going to get done. You're going to get it for that price. That's my personal way of doing things.
I think that's good.
But I know the opposite. People want to cut it on the finest of hours. They calculate the minutes. Yeah. I'm not too fussed about that. For me, it's a piece of art. Do you know what I mean? And once I've valued that piece of art to you, then, and I'm saying, look, I'm going to complete this in a day. Yeah. This is it, right? Then I've valued that to you. You understand to me. And I'm basically going to say to you, look, whatever it takes today, I'm going to complete this. And that's it. That's the way I see it.
That's really good. Now, in my
experience,
many hours of lying on a tattoo bed or whatever, that's very rarely been the case. Yeah. And I like that. I respect you for that.
Yeah, I think you often see it more, though, with people who love what they do. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I absolutely love everything I do and what I do. And because I've worked in a factory, I appreciate the fact that this is a great job. Yeah. And, okay, I probably work harder here than I did in the factory, but I understand that this is... I'm very lucky to be doing what I'm doing.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And the fact people trust me to do something on the body for life, then that, do you know what I mean? That all comes into it, and I'm not here to rip someone off. Yeah. Like, we have a lot of people come here who are after certain things. They want things covering, and if it was another studio, they might say, yeah, we'll do it for the money. Yeah. But I'm look, it's just not going to work for you. Like, I don't care about the money at all. Like, this is, we advise everyone as best we can for them. Yeah. That's what I'm trying to drill into everyone. But I completely get your point, because I've been in this exact same situation.
Yeah, I've been for day rates before where we've, it's normally tattooists that smoke as well. Oh my God, I'm getting all controversial here.
Well, sorry to interrupt again. We actually had a guy here, a couple guys, right? I'm not going to name the shop. Yeah. But they're quite big. Yeah. And basically, he said that he went for a tattoo. He was having like some sort of portrait on his arm.
Yeah.
All that here. And he said he got there at 10 a.m, which was when he was told to go there, right? And it was a day sitting.
Yeah.
And then the artist didn't turn up till 11, right? So he was sitting there for an hour. The guy turned up, the artist turned up, and he said, "What do you want?" And he went, "I want this."
Oh, man.
Right? And then he went, "Okay, I'll draw that up for you now." Yeah. And then he drawn it up, and it was then 1 a.m. Yeah. So he drawn it up at 1 a.m. Says, "This is it." He says, "Right, I'm going to go for a break now." He had an hour break, 2 o'clock. Yeah. And then he, and he said, "Right, let's start." So he started, 2 hours. And in them 2 hours, he had 3 fag breaks. And then he charged him £500.
Oh, that's a killer, isn't it?
How bad's that?
Yeah, it's. I've been for day rates where, they start at 10 and there's nothing even out on the table or nothing. So it's 11 before the kitchen roll, cling film and all the rest of it's out. Then they start preparing the bed and you're like, when I turn up for my job, like today when we're filming this, we said start at 5. We had a few technical issues to do with cabinets, but now we've got it right, haven't we?
Yeah.
If I say we're going to start at 5, we'll be ready at 5, and we'll be recording at 5 because that's the way I like it to be done. But, I don't know. I've had this conversation loads about this day rate stuff because me and my wife had a day rate consecutive days. And what she had, size-wise and detail-wise, compared to what I had the following day, you wouldn't have paid a third of what she had the day before. And he had like 4 bookings booked in afterwards on a day rate. And that, I'm like, wow,
Yeah, so sometimes, like here, we'll even I book people in for a day.
Yeah.
And if they're done in 3 or 4 hours... I'm still going to charge them the 3 and 4 hours. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to charge them the day rate.
Yeah, I've done that here. Yeah,
and also like I don't get why we start like tattoo artists start at 10, 11 p.m, 11 a.m.
Yeah,
because I don't know where that's coming to because everyone does it. But like for me personally, I try and get my clients in at 8, 9 a.m.
Yeah,
because if I can do 6, 7 hours, bang out this tattoo and be done by 3 o'clock.
Yeah, happy days. That's
what
you want, isn't it? Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I don't understand why we
It's like I film for the NHS every month. We film 4 films once a month in Leicester, and I'm doing it on this Thursday. And we film. It has to be set up for 7 in the morning, and it films straight through till 3 o'clock. Best day ever. It's easy that. Whereas if you started at 10, you'd be 8 o'clock before you got home, and it's just I work better in the morning. So. That was my tattoo bit. Sorry, carry on asking questions.
That's
anyway.
a good question. I like that. That's a good subject, actually. That's something I wanted to speak about to people before, actually. But yeah, that's good. Right, rewind. Let's rewind back to when you was you went from you was getting stressed. You had people working for you. You had a money situation.
Yeah.
So what pushed you to what was the change? How did you develop from that scenario?
Well, the studio was a lovely place, really nicely set up. You know how I turn up with everything. You can imagine what it was like. The one Saturday morning, I was like, I'd been ill a couple of times from it and off work and all sorts of stuff. And I thought, you know what? It was doing all right money-wise. I'm not doing this anymore. So I asked everybody if I could have a quick meeting after work. We were doing all our photo shoots all day and viewings and all that kind of stuff and collections. And at the end of the day, I said, that's it, we're done. And I went and worked on a building site in Reading.
Wow.
Yeah, because my brain was no longer able to cope with how it was working.
How did you find telling everyone?
Well, they went from being my friends to saying, are we allowed to swear on here?
Yeah, go for it.
Good. All right. Being my friends to, where's my fucking holiday pay? And I want it now. And I'm like, holiday pay? I didn't even think about that, And of course, some people hadn't had any holiday. And it was right near the end of the year, so I had to pay a month's wages. And there was a few of them. So it ended up costing me 50 grand near enough.
Wow.
which I had 50 grand. By the time I'd cleared the place out and put it all back to how it was before, that was it, all gone. So ended up with nothing, but I was sane again. And the value of that, it far outweighs any money.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How did you find kind of mentally recovering from all of that?
Do you know...
What was the instant? Was it literally once you'd packed up, you felt that sort of relief?
The day I handed the keys back to the place, I felt quite sad. And then the next morning I woke up and thought, I haven't got to do that. I felt loads better. And then the following day, I went to work on a building site, helping electricians out, my friends, for probably less than a fifth of the wages I was on at the studio, but the money didn't matter, you know.
When you look back at that situation, do you think you could have dealt with it differently? Do you think you could have maybe changed something to where you could have kept it going?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
in more of a manageable situation?
Now, in hindsight, if I'd have had a manager to take over the hard bit, it would have been great. That's what I should have done.
Yeah.
I should have also, if instead of just closing and giving it up, put it up for sale because it was profitable, set up, ready to go. Didn't do anything. I just shut the door. You know, I think I just needed to get it out of my head.
Yeah. You know, saying about a manager, we when my old studio that I used to work at, we didn't have a studio manager as such. We all sort of plugged in. We all dealt with our own stuff. We had to answer the phone. We had to answer the door. We had to do everything like that, as well as tattoo.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then when I come here, we obviously had a studio manager, and I noticed straight away how much better it run. And I noticed straight away the owner difference. So the difference between the two owners. So we had Christian, who was so chill. Yeah. And he didn't have to be here. The studio would run itself. Do you know what I mean? It didn't. It just floated along. And for what he paid the studio manager, it was so worth it in his own mind that he didn't have to worry about things, wages and that sort of thing. And
it makes the biggest difference. Yeah. I've been here and I've been a client, and you come in and you're greeted really well, and you know, you made coffee all the time. I love coffee. And it's good coffee, you know, and you're always treated well. You're always asked if everything's okay. And I really love that. Yeah. You know, when I had my studio, the way that it worked was people would book through like an experience day for a family portrait, and they'd pay a bit of money and they get a free print. My business was to sell them some pictures after that. Yeah. So when they all came in, there could be a group of up to like 40 people. Sometimes there's only 2. But we'd write down what they had, tea and coffee, when we offered them a drink. And then when they came to view the pictures, we'd say, do you want the same as last time? And they'd be like, do you know what it was? Oh,
you had it down,
yeah. The person that I used to live with at the time I had the studio said that was pathetic. That was the whole way that my business had to be. Yeah. And I love that personable.
They feel valued, don't they? They feel listened to. Yeah.
You know, and I've gone completely off topic and I've got no idea what I'm talking about. Absolutely none. You were asking me.
Right, yeah. So you've gone to a building site in Reading.
Building site in Reading.
So first of all, why did you go down to Reading? Was it? Why did you go?
I went down to Reading because I knew a friend of mine was an electrician and he had some work. So I just said, I used to do a bit of electrics. Can I come with you and do a bit? And working away like 4 or 5 days a week for a bit. And I just needed to get away. And that's helped me a lot. But closing it made me hate photography. Yeah. What was that then? Yeah, I think your microphone is unplugged or something. Yeah. It seems to have stopped working. Just a second. Oh, there you go.
Hear me now?
Yeah. Hear me now.
It's still loud, yeah?
Yeah, okay. There we go. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened there.
All good.
Yeah, so I lost my passion instantly for photography. and I never wanted to have another camera. And I get offered jobs. Well, I got offered jobs all the time, doing bits and pieces. Will you do this? Will you do that? And I was like, no, I'm not doing that ever again. You know, I've been burnt. I want to do it. You know, I was a bit obnoxious when I had that place. I thought I was the king of photography. I wanted to own every studio in the world.
Yeah.
You know, and I wanted to, you know, I went to visit my competition up the road, and I knew that they were struggling, and I knew they wanted to pack in. And I was a cocky dickhead, honestly.
Yeah.
And I went and had a look at what they had, and I said to them, I'll give you a third of what you're asking, and you can just have it now, and just give us the keys and walk off. I've already spoke to your landlord. That's the kind of person I was.
Really?
And that's what it was doing to me.
How old was you at this point?
I don't know, what am I, 50 now, so 35?
Okay.
Something like that.
What do you think drove that sort of, like that attitude? Was it because you ascended so fast and you was getting to the top of your game so quick?
Yeah.
That you thought you was sort of...
you know, I had a bit of money in the bank.
Yeah.
And I thought I was better than I was.
Yeah.
Really. It was delusions of grandeur. You know, I wanted to appear, you know, like I was well off, which I now know is stupid. But when you're in it, you can't get out of it. You know what I mean? It's
you know, it's funny because this industry in particular is full of people who think they are the gift from God. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, and there is some incredible artists around in the UK as well, and they have this perception of they're untouchable and they have this sort of godlike power and almost like they're a celebrity. Do you know what I mean? And I know that I know you've got to. At the end of the day, you're trying to you want to make money. It's your job, and you want to attract people in, and you want people to want to be tattooed by you. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But yeah. The industry is full of it, absolutely full of it, because you know when you've got a talent and there's so many talented people and so many people are telling you that you are the best thing they've ever seen. Yeah. There's always that sort of part of you that needs to control and keep your feet on the floor. Do you know what I mean?
It's really difficult. You know, it's I had everything branded. You know, I was like, this is going to be the biggest photography place ever.
Yeah.
And
but do you think you need that sort of drive initially though? Like that, do you think you need that idea? The idea of, look, I want this to be the biggest thing, but do you need to sort of have a control over it as you're going through it?
Do you know, I had, I first of all rented a place.
Yeah.
I had a little share in a small place. And I outgrew it really quick. And I thought, well, I'm onto something here. And then it just went like that. And I'd lost control of it completely. I had no idea what I was doing or why, really. I knew that I was just taking loads of photographs of families, selling them, putting some money in the bank. And it was just like a family portrait factory, really. And there was what I used to like doing, but you know, taking pictures outside, or I like product photography as well.
Yeah.
And there was very little of that, and it was all portraiture.
Wow.
And there's only so many times you can say to people, do this, do that. We used to do 8 every Saturday, and then the rest in the week, you know, and do this, do that, sit on your dad's shoulders, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And whilst it's good at the time, you're actually completely spent by the time you get home. So you're no use to any of your family, and then you're back at work the next day. So it was 7 days a week, you know, and it was...
Did you have kids at this point?
Yeah. I've got 3 kids, 27, 25, 21. Yeah. And
so what was your relationship with your children during that time of
me and my son have always spent quite a bit of time together. Yeah. Fond memories of that place are things like we had CCTV, there was infrared, and we played football in the dark with 2 iPads watching it on the iPad, and my son's over there. Do you remember? Yeah, and you couldn't see your hand in front of your face because we blocked out all the daylight. So when you're playing football in the dark, it's amazing on infrared CCTV. It was really good. And then every Christmas, me and James used to record like a Christmas song, but lip sync to it with all silly outfits on and stuff. We had a good laugh doing that. Yeah. We did that a lot of Christmases. So yeah, my relationship with James was really good. Chloe works for me, so I was quite harsh with Chloe. You know, I made her do stuff that she didn't really want to do. But she had a good go, you know, and never really told me until afterwards that she hated what I was doing, you know. And then Lucy, probably not as much as I should have, you know. But I tried, you know. I've done my best.
Yeah,
you know. There's always things where you look back and you think I could have done a bit more.
Yeah. If you used to look back now, what would you have said to your past self at that point?
If I'd have do more with your kids.
Yeah.
And keep your job in Saudi Arabia. Yeah, because I did that before. But yeah, do more with the kids. I absolutely did my best.
Yeah.
But I was absorbed by money and success. You know, and that's a difficult thing to admit, really, I suppose. But it is what it is.
No, I respect that, honestly.
Yeah.
So you've gone on to Reading.
Yeah.
You've done a bit of labouring, bricklaying, or
electrics. Yeah.
Electrics. Yeah. Okay. So what was sort of your mindset now, and what was your plan going forward, and your family as well? Because obviously, if you're working down Reading, was you travelling up and down, or working away, or?
Yeah, working away for 4 or 5 days a week. Yeah. Go on a Monday morning, come home Friday at some point. You know, only for a short while. While I was there, we stopped in a house that we'd all rented between us. And I was on my computer at night thinking, well, I'd like to teach music again. Because I was the youngest teacher in England for Yamaha music schools when I was 17. And I did that for about 8 years. And I thought, I wonder if Kerry, who was my colleague, is still around. I'll see if I can get in touch with her. So I sent her an email, and it said, the subject line was, "Gives a job." And I put, "Did you read the subject line?" And then just a question mark, "Best regards, Rob." And she put, "Come and see me tomorrow." I'm like, oh, I'm not really sure I want to do it now, you know. I said, I can't, I'm in Reading, but I can come see you next week. And they offered me a job as the manager of the music school straight away.
No way.
She said, "You were always the best teacher. And I want you to work here and be a manager and teach." So I did, and I sort of registered as an Apple developer as well, because I do quite a bit of stuff, but I've not done it for a while. So while I was working as a manager there, I just left Reading, obviously, and just went on to do music. But I developed their whole database system and in FileMaker, which is an Apple program, to manage their music schools and stuff. And I went on to be a teacher for a while. But then I thought, I like video, you know, and it was one of those things. I think now, I spent 4 years living on my own. And that gives you some space to sort of find out what you like.
Yeah, find yourself.
Yeah, rather than what you have to do to survive.
Did you feel when you went to do, you was looking at going into video again, did you feel like you had unfinished business? Did you feel like you did? Yeah. You wanted to go give it another...
Yeah, but this time with the benefit of experience.
Yeah. Rather
than jumping in with both feet trying to, you know, splash around and see what happens. I thought about it, I've had a lot of skint times doing video. When I was living on my own, I invested a bit of money in this camera, and thought, right, that's it. Away we go. Let's learn all about filming, because exposure is the same as it is for photography. Composition's the same. Light is a little bit different. Sound's very different. Sound's really difficult. I think sound out of everything is the hardest thing in filming.
Why is that?
It's just it's tough to make it sound great.
Yeah.
You know, this is what we're doing now. This is all right. This will sound fantastic, as you can tell us in the comments below. But to make sound really good and crisp and nice on like an interview and stuff like that is a real art. It's not just a case of dropping a microphone on somebody and recording it. It needs to be done really well. So I do lots of studying with that, because I want it to be really good, you know. And I have no issue saying to a client, you know, a lady from the NHS rang me and said, your videos are such high quality and so well put together. We've got to have you to do this. So I'm filming a day in the life of a GP soon, sometime this year. I haven't got a date yet, but that's going to be, I think, 18 GPs over a week. And I've got to make a story about what it's like to be a GP, which is cool, but it needs to be like super quality and really crisp, lovely audio. So I learned the audio from filming yoga.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've done a 200, 300 and 500 hour course, yoga course, that I've filmed and did all the videos and all the editing myself. And as it progressed, it got better and better and better. Yeah, so I learned that. And I'm particular, you know, but I think filming wise, I started off with what I could do and then built on it and thought about it a bit. You know, if you look back at your first tattoos compared to what you do today, there's a huge difference.
Yeah.
There has to be.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you know, when you were going on about, look at this tattoo I've done, I remember that being me with filming and also me with photography. Oh, this picture's amazing. You know, you get to move house and you find a box with pictures of stuff that you've done, and you're like, I used to go on about that and tell everybody, look at this, it's brilliant.
Do you find yourself being quite like self-critical?
Oh, massively.
Yeah. So that's something I struggle with massively. I have sort of I don't consider myself to be worthy of, you know, the attention or whatever, you know, people talk about your tattoos, or
yeah,
I don't feel myself to be worthy enough to be, do you know what I mean? I feel like I'm almost conning people, you know. There's a thing for that, and there is
imposter syndrome.
Imposter syndrome, yes.
Yeah.
I do suffer with that quite a lot since I've started, really. But yeah, I'm massively critical of myself. Probably not as much now, but actually, yeah, maybe. But right at the start, I was really bad. I used to absolutely drill myself every night, every day. And even when I was 6 months in, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'd be aiming for a level that was so far ahead, you know, I knew that it was going to take me 10 years or 8 years to even get too close to this point.
Yeah.
And I'd still be drilling myself 6 months in, like, why is this not looking this way? Why am I not doing this?
Yeah.
And even now, I'll review my own work to a point that it makes me sick. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
It's sickening.
Do you know, sorry to butt in,
Yeah, go for it.
when you do music and you play, you're a musician. When you get paid, you're a professional musician, right? That's the worst thing you can ever have. It's because then you become super critical, because now I'm a professional. Same with being a photographer. If you do it for a hobby, you're like taking photos. If you do it for money, you're a professional photographer. It goes from like, here's my cheap camera, to how much money can I spend on equipment. It didn't make you any better at what you do, but you feel like you have to have that stuff in order for people to believe in you.
Yeah.
You know, this imposter syndrome, I'll sit in front of a computer sometimes and I think, I can't even do this. You know, I have it a lot. You know, I'll say to Donna, my wife, I'll say, I fucking can't do my job. You know, this is so hard.
Yeah.
And she'll say, well, what's wrong? She's calm with stuff. And she'll say, don't stress.
Yeah.
And I'm like, it's impossible. I'm wound up now.
Yeah, you need that though. You need someone to. But like when I took this place on, it's so weird because this place was always before I even started tattooing, I'd come here to get tattooed.
Yeah.
And I used to absolutely love it. I'd love the environment,
Yeah.
the artists, the people, and I used to be so absorbed by how unbelievable it was. And then when I bought this place, I sat there and I remember sitting there and I was just like, how have I conned people? Right, to the point now, 3 years in, I now own this place.
Yeah.
Right, and I'd only been tattooing for 3 years and I couldn't get it in my mind, and I still suffer with it now, to be honest. And yeah, it's something that sometimes you got to be honest with yourself as well and just say, look where you've come from.
Yeah.
And remember that you're only this far in. You've got so many years ahead of you if you want to keep going. And you want to, do you know what I mean? That's important to remember, that you're only a period in and you've got so many years ahead of you, you know what I mean?
The thing is, you're 3 years ahead of yourself 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And if you think of that, doing day-to-day stuff, even if 3 years ago you started juggling, how much better would you be right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and you'd definitely be able to juggle 7. Don't you reckon? 7, I reckon.
But do you find when you're doing, like, my trajectory has been similar to yours?
Yeah.
That you was talking about you know, when you was owning, you had staff and you was owning your own place, and you were stressing about money. Mine's been similar. The trajectory's been really, really fast. It seems every year there's more happening. There's bigger things happening. Yeah. More expensive things happening. But I said to someone the other day, they were saying, how long do you think you'd be tattooing for? And I said, I do not think I have another 8 years left.
Really?
Yeah, and simply because there's so much going on every year. Yeah. I don't think I can carry on at the same rate. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I look at Christian, who used to own this place. Yeah. And how he wasn't here a lot before, you know, a couple of years before he left. Yeah. Before he sold it. He was here a couple times a week, maybe once a month. Sometimes you wouldn't see him. Like, wow. And he really slowed it down. And I understand why. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? He had the same thing where it becomes so intense and there's so much going on all the time. How can you keep that rate up? Yeah. As a human being, do you know what I mean?
I'm very guilty of trying to keep that rate up all the time. Yeah. I very rarely have time off. Yeah. And I'm quite addicted to work.
Yeah, yeah. See, I am as well, you see. And do you think that... do you think that will ever stop? Like, realistically, I say to myself 8 years, but I know that in another 8 years, I probably are still going to be wanting a lot more.
Yeah, you'll be doing other stuff to do with the same thing. Yeah. I don't want to stop. Yeah. I really like work. I like when I go on holiday, which is probably 3 years since I've been on holiday. I find it really difficult to relax, and I can't stop thinking about work. Yeah.
I'm exactly the same.
And it's really tough. Yeah. But
does your missus always ever go to you for talking about work? Or?
Yeah. Do you know, my wife now has got my back. Yeah. With everything, and you know, she understands I need to work a lot. And it's not necessarily for money. Yeah. It's for here. I like to deliver what I've promised, you know, and sometimes that takes longer than I think it should.
Yeah. See, my missus, I've been with my missus now for 2 years. Yeah. And we've just been married. And so she's invested a lot in me. Yeah. So she's put in all her savings into my sort of dream, what I wanted to do. Yeah. And she's like, just wants me home all the time. She's like, no, let's have a day off. She doesn't even want the return on the investment. And it's such, she just wants me to do what I want to do, which is just like...
That's good, isn't it?
Yeah, it's unreal. Man. Right, so let's plod on a little bit.
Go on then.
Right, so we're going to rewind right back to the start.
Does time go back that far?
I don't know. So when was you born, Rob?
1972.
72.
Yeah.
So childhood, where did you live? Where did you go?
I was born in Scotland.
Was you?
Yeah.
Is that the ginger roots then?
Do you know, I reckon it is. I have this argument with people all the time. I think if you're born in Scotland, you're Scottish. Right? And I've stood by that all the time. In the law, if I ask for a Scottish passport, you know, when they were going to separate Scotland and England, I could have one. I'm entitled to one. So that puts me down as Scottish. I like to think that I'm Scottish.
You know, that's in a fact that I'm sure it's something mad, like 80% of gingers come from Scotland.
Well, you know, all the good people.
I'm actually sure that's a fact. Like.
All the brothers from another mother.
So whereabouts in Scotland was you?
Kilwinning, I was born, and I think we lived in a place called Largs.
Oh, well. How long was you?
Till I was 5.
Yep.
My dad used to have tool making companies and stuff like that. He was quite well off. And he used to make the parts for Chrysler cars and the first IBM computers. And then Chrysler went bankrupt. And he lost all of his money that they owed and everything. And we had to close everything because my dad went bankrupt. And we ended up moving to Tamworth.
Oh, wow. So what was your relationship like with your mum and dad?
My mum is still around. My dad's died in 2000. But my mum and dad are the best people that I've ever known. Yeah. Yeah. You know, unbelievable. They had a very, very tough business life. But they always had time to do little bits with us, you know, me and my sister. I sort of tried to be my dad a little bit. You know, he'd had 3 children from a previous marriage. I've done that, and businesses, and I've done that. And I really tried to emulate him as a person. And it took me a long time to realise that's not the right thing to do. You know, but my parents are phenomenal. My mum, I think, is I know is the best woman on the planet, I believe. You know, I speak to her every day. She does a little bit of work for me on bookkeeping and stuff, and she's 80 this year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but, yeah, unbelievable.
So growing up in Tamworth?
Yeah.
Did you know sort of early on what you wanted to do, or what was your sort of aspirations when you was younger?
Yeah, I started playing the keyboard, piano and organ when I was 7. I wasn't really that interested in school. I was a bit naughty at school. I knew I wanted to play around the places, and I used to play in clubs and stuff when I was a bit older. And then I saw a job. I went to the careers office at the time, and they said, "Oh, I want a job in music." So they put me in a record shop on what's called a YTS, youth training scheme, and it was £27.50 a week for 40 hours, which was incredible. Wow. Yeah. So I did that for a little bit, and then I saw a job at the music school, which was for a female, aged 25 and above. That was what you needed to be. So I phoned up and said, "Can I come anyway?" And they were like, "Well," I said, "just give us a chance, see what it's like," because I could play well. I was doing good at it. I used to practice a lot. And they said, "We don't want a man. We don't want somebody as young as you." I said, "Well, ask me the questions that you're going to ask the woman and see if I'm, you know, grown up enough to be able to deal with it." And they said at the end, "Yeah." And I was like, "Oh, this is ace," you know. So I always wanted to do music and play and stuff. That's all I was interested in. So being ginger, you ain't getting girls.
Turn to music.
Yeah, do something geeky, because a lot of gingers do cool stuff, you know. And I think, do you know, I was speaking to somebody about this yesterday.
Yeah.
And she was telling me about ginger. To be offensive to a ginger is completely acceptable. And it actually is. All gingers just accept it.
Yeah, they do, yeah. They take it, yeah.
you know, and I think that's really funny. You know.
Yeah, they have a good attitude towards it, I feel. Do you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you've had to, really. I've had 50 years of it. It's quite amazing what people come out with. You know, that you can't say things to other people, but to a ginger you can say anything. You know, but I quite like it. You either laugh with people, at yourself.
I think when you sit, like, I know that I'm going to have a laugh with you. Do you know what I mean? Just by the look of you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just get that vibe straight away that you're going to have a good time.
I like to have fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. And my job has to be fun.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, no, yeah, absolutely. Like, we actually had a guy, he was doing a course, a university course. And he come here and he struggled a little bit with the videography because he didn't talk too much.
Yeah.
And I feel like you need that you need to get people comfortable straight away in front of the camera, do you know what I mean? And I think that's a skill in itself.
Do you know, I filmed a wedding about 3 weeks ago with a photographer that I'd not met before. Wow. Bearing in mind, it was an expensive wedding. You know, it was a really posh venue. There was a lot of people. I don't know what the best way to describe it. There was a lot of veneer teeth, you know, and footballery kind of, you know. So it was important that people looked good. That was that crowd of people, you know. Yeah. And when we were doing the group shot, it took him 50 minutes to set up a group shot. Can you imagine how annoyed everybody was? And he wouldn't let me be in there, but that a personable thing with a crowd of people is something that I've always done. So I'd have had that done in like 4 minutes. Yeah. You know, and the lady that struggled to walk down the stairs, I'd have got somebody to carry her. You know, or you know, whatever. You got to get it done. Yeah. But I think half of everything I do is about people. It's the equipment has to be second nature. Yeah,
actually, coming on to that. So, do you think that doing the job you do, being so, you know, you're very artistic in what you do, you can see a good visual, but you also need that people side. Like, for us, I think that's vital. We have a lot of tattoo artists in the industry that are so talented, but tripe with people. Do you know what I mean? And people come back for the people as much as the art. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. If you're unable to manage people, it's almost impossible. You know, I've been tattooed by loads of different people, and the experience is totally different with everyone. If someone's quiet, it's hard. You know, if they talk a lot and they're genuinely interested in what you've got to say, it's less painful. Yeah. And it takes your mind off it. You know, there's been other times when, you know, I put my headphones on and not spoken because it may be my second session and the first time I never spoke anyway, you know.
Yeah, you want to take your mind off it.
Yeah, my job at the studio when I did the photography was to make people smile without saying smile. Yeah. You know, there's some unbelievable stories there, but another time maybe. But yeah, the personable thing is 90% of it. Because the technicality stuff, you can learn that. Yeah. But the personable stuff is developed over your experience.
Yeah, I seen someone put on Facebook actually the other day about someone said, I don't know why tattoo artists get offended when people don't remember your name. So when they leave, they don't remember your name. Yeah. He says, I don't understand why tattoo artists get offended. And he was actually a tattoo artist himself who put it. Yeah. And I did think, actually, I would get offended by that. Not offended, but I'd be a bit upset because, like, me personally, the way I work is that I'm with someone for 6, 7, 8 hours a day. Yeah. I'm going to talk about life. I'm going to talk about absolutely everything. I'm going to have a joke of them. We're going to have a good chat, and they're going to remember that. And do you know what I mean? And they're going to think, I make sure that they're going to want to come back and have another chat again. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I think it's important that people do remember who you are, and that when they see you in the street, they go, oh, he's a good guy. Not just you know, a good tattoo artist, but a good person. Like that's number one. Like everyone's going to remember you, not just for being the photographer or the videographer, but for being Rob. Do you know what I mean?
You know, I get a lot of that as a comment. You know, on a review and stuff, what he made the wedding.
Yeah.
That seems to be really popular.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and had fun with the guests. So you're an entertainer,
Yeah, absolutely.
really.
And also remembering like there's a lot of people here that I tattoo, people every single day, but I try and remember something.
Yeah.
Or remember what they do.
Yeah.
That's important. So when they come in, I'll say, "Oh, how's whatever the trade is, whatever they do." They go, "Oh, he remembers what I do." And,
yeah.
And you're tattooing these loads of different people every day.
It's nice when people say, how's this going?
Yeah.
When you've spoken to them before.
Prior, even if it's a year ago, do you know what I mean? You've still got that little thing in your mind you can just go to, and they remember that. I think that is very important with customer service. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think being on the customer service part for my business is, at times I've not been as responsible as I should have been.
Yeah.
Because I'm otherwise engaged with trying to resolve other stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, for instance, I had a massive hard drive failure last year, and I had a wedding on there which had not been edited, and it was a set of sort of 6 hard drives all connected together in a machine, and the machine broke, and I'm like, that's it then. That's the end of my life, basically, because my life is over moment. So, and you couldn't get a new one. You couldn't replace it. And I phoned up a data recovery place, and they said 15 grand. And I'm like, I'm going to have to pay it. And it ended up resolving itself with somebody helping me out and all that kind of stuff. But it put me back so far with all of my regular work that it seemed impossible to get back on track. I'd lose my train of thought real quick. I'm like, we were talking about this, and we were talking
customer service.
Customer service, yeah. So I'm on the phone to these people saying, "I'll be getting your stuff to you as soon as I can." I always feel like I'm lying when I say that. Like if I say I'll get your video done within the next week, it hurts me if I've not done it within the next week. Then, and I'm really fussy about that. I have to cut everything off in order to get it done, and it's not because I'm lazy.
Yeah,
I think it's because occasionally I have a bit of a habit of procrastination. Where you go, I'll get it done, and then you get that list like we were speaking about at the start. And I went to a business coach for a bit, and she said it's all about priorities. So but I look at that list, and I've got no way in my brain of going, that client is more important than that one. All of these people I'm doing stuff for so that they can have what they want from me.
Yeah.
So they're all as important as each other. So where's the priority there? You don't go with the one that pays you the most. You can't do that, because the one that pays you the middle person will be the person that's with you forever.
Yeah, I get that.
Whereas the top end stuff is
a one-off.
Yeah, and you've got to treat everybody the same. And I find it so hard to prioritise anything. So
I think that is a common thing though in the art world though. I mean, with us as well, when we've got weeks ahead of you, and people want to see a design before or see a drawing before. You've got usually people. We all do it differently. We all set different rules for ourselves. Personally, I try and keep it to a week or 2 weeks before, but some leave it last minute. Do you know what I mean? I can't get my head around that. Like some people clients will be coming in blind until last minute, and they'll have a look at it, and then that sends me my art racing for them because I'm like, it's more pressure on them to say and. That decision that they've got to make is on there for the rest of their life. Do you know what I mean? And then if they say no, then it puts the artist in a different sort of position. So personally, I'll try and do it 1 to 2 weeks before. But again, prioritising work is so hard, because if you've got a big back piece, it's kind of 2 weeks away, but you've got something, a little bit smaller here or here, you've got to think, well, how long is the back piece going to take me? Should I start that now? Start this in the middle?
Yeah.
And same with you, if you've got a bigger video going on, you need to do a bit of work first for that, or do you know what I mean? Prioritising your work's always a challenge, I think.
I think you've got to have a good think about what you starting each time. Like we've started doing stuff together, and you said to me, we did some photography and videography and stuff like that. It'd be good if I could have the photos as soon as possible. So I was right, okay. So to appease James and get it off to a good start, let's get those photos done straight away. So you can see that when he asks, it gets done, you know. And I like that.
No, I respect that.
And I like the fact that you gave me a bit of direction. You know, some places I go to film and they're like, what do you want to film? I'm like, oh, you know, I don't know. I would thought that would have been you telling me, really. You know, obviously when you're doing a promotional thing, it's a different thing. But like when you said about this setup, by the way, is all his idea.
No, I'm not going to take credit for that. You actually pointed out this corner first.
Yeah.
And then we went around the whole room and then come back to the corner and decided you were right. So.
I love it. I think this is really good setup.
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm enjoying the chat.
Yeah, it's but anyway, that's me going off on a tangent again. Tell me what we were talking about.
What was we on? Was we on customer service still?
Because we've done customer service.
Prioritization of work.
Yeah. So, say, with you and prioritising stuff, if you were to, hang on, I'm a bit stuck. If you were to, say, have a big back piece worth $3,000, and then you've got I know you only do day rates now, so, I don't know, 500 quid. And it's just a piece on a leg, like that. Yeah. Would you be more interested in the £3,000 one?
No. No. What would be interest me more is the concept in general. So even if it was like if it was a back piece and you wanted, I don't know, if you wanted a big, I don't know, a rose and pocket watch.
Yeah.
Right. On the back. Let's say an example. And then the guy on the leg wanted I don't know, something right down my street, you know, colour, something cool going on, then I would probably prioritise the thing that's going to challenge me the most, and I'm going to need more mental energy. Like I know the clock and rose isn't going to take me too long because it's relatively simple and it's relatively easy. They're going to say, relatively straight because exactly what they want. Do you know what I mean? Usually the stuff that's slightly more creative and they'll give me more of a freedom with it is more challenging because I've got to then create something that they're going to want to be like, wow, do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I'll probably always prioritise that. I never prioritise anything financially because, well, I don't know. It's still a day, isn't it? It's still the same day. I
think with money, when you're young, I don't know how old you are.
27.
27. Bloody hell. Wished I was.
How old are you again?
50.
50?
Yeah.
Hey, looking good for 50,
Oh, he's on about me being amazing again.
I'm flirting again.
Oh, there's the beard. All right. I think when you're young, you try and earn the most. Well, I did try and earn the most money you can. And I got it the wrong way around. I focused on earning money rather than doing a good job. I think if you do a good job, the money comes anyway.
Yeah.
And it's a byproduct of your success.
So for me, I go through these weird cycles. I always analyse my own thoughts and why I'm thinking in a certain way. Yeah. And I do go through times where I'm very money motivated and I'm thinking, you know, I want to invest money into certain things. I want another business. Yeah. I'm thinking of this grand empire I want to build and I want to be, you know, I don't need to worry about anything ever again. Yeah. You know, I want to retire in 10 years sort of thing. Yeah. I go through stages of that a lot. And then I always rewind back to what I actually want in life and what I would be happy to have. Yeah. You know, and I'm happy, like the minute we're looking at actually living off the land, so we're looking at living in sort of an American sort of camper van sort of thing. Yeah. And living kind of self-sufficient. Yeah. in a lovely wilderness sort of area and dogs, and that's me. Do you know what I mean? And that doesn't cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I'm happy doing that. I'm not interested in expensive houses, expensive this and that. I always rewind and remember that that's all I am happy to do, and that's all I'm building towards. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But then I'll always go through this cycle of, right, I need to build this empire of richness, and I don't know whether that is a young person thing or.
Do you think? I know when I was younger, I felt like I had to earn enough money till I died when I was young.
Yeah.
And actually, I now know that you're capable of earning whatever you need, whenever you want. When I say need, not excessive, but just what you need. You know, say you needed $2,000 a month, you can generate $2,000 a month, and not you wouldn't need any more. Like you said, with your camper van and wilderness stuff.
How do you, when you think, so say if you tomorrow you were jobless, just all of a sudden jobless, do you think that, how does your mind work? Do you think you can just make money in any sort of way?
Yeah.
Do you think you can just do it?
Yeah.
Because I have the same thing.
Yeah.
So I always sometimes worry like, oh, what if tattooing next year becomes irrelevant? No one wants tattoos anymore. What am I going to do? I'm going to lose this. But then I think, you know what? I could still do a graft if I need to.
Yeah.
And earn money a different way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I could absolutely, without any question, wake up tomorrow without a job and do something else.
Yeah.
And I have. When my videography was slow, and then my son's going to be laughing at this in a minute. I worked in a cardo in the freezer.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and I've never really been a grafter. That's an hard job, a killer. It's free. Well, it's cold. It's a freezer, you know, but it's knackering as well. And you know, to try and be a good parent, you know, oh yeah, it's fine. Go and work in a car. It's a job. It pays the bills. It was tough. He's shaking his head over there, I know. But it's, I had to do that to generate some money because I was trying to get my business going, but it wasn't working like I wanted it to. So I had to go and do that. And then I worked in a plastics factory. And this is within the last sort of 5 years because it wasn't working out how I wanted to do it. And then COVID hit. I started to get clients starting again. And then COVID hit. So I sat at home a lot and did a lot of music instead. So I'm lucky that I've spent a lot of time learning lots of different things. So, you know, I do music on Skillshare. That's music lessons. I've got piano music on Spotify. All of these things, like passive income things, pay a little bit. But if I was to spend a bit more time, like if tomorrow videography was illegal, that I couldn't do it for businesses, I would make more educational stuff and put it on the internet and get paid that way. You know, so I've never been afraid of not having any money because I could just go and get some.
I think that's quite a powerful thing though. Knowing that you don't need to do this. But you love it. But you don't need it. I think that's vital in also earning a living because same here, I know I don't need to tattoo to earn money. Like, I don't need to have this. But I love it, and that's a bonus. Do you know what I mean?
Well, then money becomes a byproduct of your success, and then you don't worry about it, you know. Whereas if that's all you worry about, your drive's in the wrong place. You know, if you get better people, if you build it, they will come. There used to be a film with that in. I don't know what it was. But that's what they said. And I think it was about a baseball stadium or something. Somebody built in his back garden. Kevin Costner.
Is it an old film? Is it like 80s or something?
Yeah. So I'm trying not to talk about old stuff because you'll have no idea what I'm going on about here. But yeah, I'm a great believer in trying. you've got to have a go and believe in yourself as much as you can until you get knocked, which happens to me, like I said earlier, you know, where you start doing something. Like I've started editing a wedding before, and I normally do like a 10-minute highlight film, and I've got 5 minutes in and I thought, I have no idea how to make this into a film. You know, you've got 17 different versions going on in your head, thinking, I don't know what to do. You know, and you normally shoot it in a way to make that film. But then when you watch it back, it comes out different.
Yeah.
And that's really...
What's your advice for... So, my wife sort of suffered with this a little bit, and I know a few other people that do, where you kind of, you know, they've got a lot about them and they've got a lot of things going for them, but they don't know exactly what to do.
Yeah.
They don't know where they want to go, what they want to do, but they're kind of stuck in a job or stuck doing something they don't particularly want to do.
Yeah.
What's your advice in sort of directing them in a path that, you know, they're going to love doing, or
I would say
finding their passion? Do you know what I mean?
There's a few different kinds of people. And there's I'm early 20s and want a Range Rover. I'm going to live with my mum and have a massive monthly finance bill. The whole, I'd call it the look at me culture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there's a person that's trying to make it on their own and renting a place or got a little mortgage. And then there's the person that's actually doing it. And I think there's those, you know, there's obviously others in between, but generally there's those three. And I think when you're stuck in a job, if you go, all right, I'm going to have a fancy car and it's £1,000 a month and you're only earning 1,500 and living with your mum, you're never going to be able to go and do what you want. You've got to do what your boss says. Otherwise, they're going to take that car off you. You know, so my advice would be keep your outgoings to a minimum so that you don't have to rely on somebody else telling you how your life's going to go. Because if you have those people going, without these wages I'm giving you, you're nothing, then if you've got that in your head all the time, you're never going to be able to follow what you actually want to do.
Yeah.
Because you're stuck to those debts, those bills and stuff like that. You know, so the cheaper that you can live, the easier it is for you to do what you want to do rather than what you have to do.
More freedom.
Yeah. Like when I lived on my own for 4 years, my outgoings were £900 a month. So I didn't have to make a lot of money. Whereas when I had the studio, I had to make £10,000 a month. It was a totally different thing.
I actually read a book, you know, before I bought this place. It was called Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Have you heard of it?
No.
It's really, really good. You should. Basically, it teaches you what the rich know and what the rich get taught and what the middle and low class don't.
Right.
And it tells you certain laws that you should always follow. Things like what are assets and what are liabilities, and what we consider, if you're middle or low class, what you consider to be an asset is completely different to what an asset is to a rich person.
Okay.
Right. So they don't necessarily consider property as assets, where we are taught to buy a house.
Yeah.
And, you know, you gain equity in the house, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They consider that essentially as a liability, because there's no actual stability in the house market as such. As much as they'll tell you, there isn't.
Yeah.
And also things like you should only spend your money, like 10% of what you own, your full wealth, on something, on an item. You should never spend more than that. Do you know what I mean? So if you was just talking about finance, you know, that's obviously a lot more than 10% of the full. You know what I mean? Of what they own in financially. But yeah, worth reading that, because they teach you really cool things that you do not get taught about money. Because obviously in high school you don't get taught, do you? About
no, not at all.
Nothing to do with mortgages, money, how to manage your finance.
Yeah.
And the way the rich get taught is it'll blow your absolute mind, and how you even view money, because they don't see it as necessarily something you have to earn. They see it as something to make more.
Trading tokens.
Yeah, they see it as they just see it completely differently to what we do. We rely so heavily on it, where they don't. They see it in a completely different way.
Do you know, I'm from an era where everybody was made to get a mortgage.
Yeah.
I haven't got a mortgage. We rent a house.
Yeah.
I never got to the stage of paying off a house because of life circumstances and stuff like that. But I really don't care about that at all. Whereas a lot of people put a lot of pressure on themselves in order to be able to have that house, that mortgage, that bill.
Do you think that is an effect? Do you think that affects your mindset in that point? Affects what you do for a living? Because you don't think about mortgages, houses. Do you think that's a byproduct of that? Is actually what you do for a living as well? It's affected that because you don't think about that. You think about what you want to do and how you want to do it. Where if you're tied and you're looking for a mortgage, you're thinking about, right, I need to go earn some money somewhere. Yeah, I need to get in a job as soon as I can. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when I keep going back to when I lived on my own because it's a good way of putting it across, I suppose. I think the freedom of having little bills makes it easier to do what you want. If you've got big financial pressure, then you've got to go to the job that pays the most money to keep your head above water, and that's no way to be. Yeah. You know, I mentioned briefly about Saudi Arabia. I had a good job doing that. The money was good, the job was crap, but that never made me happy. Yeah. You know, and I think we all know when you look at your social media, you'll have someone you know that's just put a picture of their brand new Porsche. Yeah, and someone you know that's just had the new teeth, and someone you know that's telling you about how good they are and how much stuff they have and all this kind of thing. And I think that's all. It's a load of bollocks, really.
Yeah, I see that a lot from people my age, and I think social media's had a big impact on that.
It's a killer.
You go through stages. My missus has done the same thing. Like sometimes she'll look at all these, you know, women that do, you know, they're beautiful and they're doing all these crazy things, they're in beautiful places, and she sort of like compares herself to that. Yeah, and I'm just like, look, they're probably not happy. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? They're false. They're false happy. The likelihood is some of them might be, and I'm just saying, look what you've got. Look what you've got here. Look what you've got for you. Do you know what I mean? And that's this is a generational thing now. People are comparing themselves to these images and videos.
Oh, it's unbelievable.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And it's,
you know, if you look at like women on Instagram, how is a teenage girl going to try and portray herself like that? Because that's what they see as the norm. Yeah. You know, and a bloke with a big fast car, you know, that he may have rented to be on that picture. Yeah. He might be standing next to someone else's car, you know, who knows? Or it might actually be his. But to try and keep up with that lifestyle, it's pretty much impossible. Yeah. You know, you can't.
You become a slave to the social media, don't you?
Yeah, to everything like that. You know, the fact that, I don't know, what's that? Jake Paul. Yeah. Yeah. I don't like him. All right. I think he's a knob. I do. The reason I think he's a knob is because he's internet famous. Yeah. And he talks about how much money he's got and shows you how much stuff he's got. And, you know, why would you do that? You know, there's a lot of them. He's just somebody I've picked out that I've just taken a bit of a dislike to. You know, but there's a lot of those people. on the internet who make it. There was one bloke the other day with just like bricks of money going, I got loads of this. I got loads of it. It's just unbelievable. In my day, there used to be a bloke, oh God, I'm so old, called Harry Enfield. Right, and he used to go, loads of money, like this. And it was, he used to wave like a wad of 20. And he used to go, look at my wad, like this. And it's just that, honestly. I'm going to put it in the edit so you can see Harry Enfield and loads of money. Right. Loads of money! Right. Because he's like, he used to say, you ain't got as much money as me. You're poor, you are. Loads of money. Right. And that was, I don't know, 30 years ago. And that is the character of the people on the internet right now. Going, loads of money, you're poor, you are. Look at me. I've got all this. And it's just...
But the thing is, people swipe. They'll keep swiping.
Yeah.
They'll acknowledge that and they'll accept it. Do you know what I mean? I've done it. I've done it. I've seen these people and I'll be like, okay, cool, he's got a lot of money, and I'll just flick through.
Yeah.
I don't actually think about it that, he's a bit of a dick.
Yeah.
I don't think about that. I think about, oh, wow, he's got a lot of money. I wonder how he's done that. And then I'll just keep clicking. I don't think how much of a dick he's being in front of the camera. Do you know what I mean?
Do you know, I think some of it, if I'm perfectly honest, I think some of it, this whole thinking people are dicks, is maybe a little bit of envy.
Could be.
Oh, there you go. As in, why is his life so easy and my life can be quite difficult?
Yeah. See, now you've said that, because you've mentioned about Jake Paul. Now, I don't really hate Jake Paul. I don't really dislike him as such, but I always think, well, how has he done that?
Yeah.
How has he made that sort of money? And it is all an act for money. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's quite clever in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah.
How he's done it, and he's used social media for that.
Do you know, when you think of the whole loads of money bloke and the analogy of that, in that particular era, there was no internet and there wasn't any form of people showing off other than my car's better than yours, you know, and there was always that one tit in your street who had the best car, who wanted to tell you about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now there's a whole world of people with the best car that want to tell you about it. And if you spend a long time going through this and going, oh yeah, another Ferrari, another Lamborghini, another big wad of cash, like the Island Boys. Yeah, you know, amazing. They've earned loads of money by doing it. But then compare yourself to those people. If you're the kind of person that struggles with your identity and you go, all right, I need to be like them. I want that stuff. It's unreachable.
Yeah.
And you scroll up or down Instagram and, you know, you do that for 6 months every day for 3 hours. It's not good for you. No. You know, it really is very bad.
It actually changes the way you think, a lot of it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It changes your thought process.
Yeah.
I've noticed that with social media. Like, I'm on it a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really want to be on social media, but because of my job, I have to be.
Yeah.
And sometimes I will be just flicking through and I'll stop. I'll be like, why am I doing this? I've just wasted an hour. You can be there for hours.
Yeah.
Without realising, can't you? You'd be flicking through. Oh, God, an hour and a half's just gone by.
You know, screen time.
Yeah.
Isn't that embarrassing?
Oh, 5 hours, 20 minutes I did a day.
Yeah. If you think of an 8-hour day at work, you spent 2/3 of an entire work day looking at your screen.
Crazy.
But it's in dribs and drabs.
Yeah.
But it's very bad, and it's only going to get worse.
Absolutely. Right, I just want to shift this on a little bit. So, you mentioned that your dad passed away in, was it 2000? Did you say?
He did.
So how old was you at this point?
I was 27.
27?
Yeah.
How did you find that?
Oh, there's a question. I was going to make a joke out of that and go, oh, it was amazing, you know. But no, it was really very bad and incredibly damaging.
Yeah.
How
did it sort of come about? Did you know, was he ill or?
My dad smoked, and he had angina and diabetes forever, basically, and he wouldn't stop smoking. And excuse me, he had his little toe off in hospital through diabetes, because your feet tend to die off and stuff through circulation. And then he came home and he wasn't very well. He had a transport company in the end after moving from Scotland and everything, built it back up. And he was very busy and he always wore a suit, even on the beach. I don't know why, but he did. And a hanky on his head. So he had a bald head. Amazing. And he lost his little toe and he wasn't very well and he got back to pretty much normal. And then he was going into hospital because his leg, he started to have septicemia. So they were going to remove his leg from just above the knee. And the anaesthetic killed him.
Wow.
Yeah, so I remember...
So it was a shock then, I'm guessing. It was a big...
Yeah, no idea he was going to die. It wasn't like he's got so long to live and all this kind of stuff.
How old was he?
Do you know, I think he was 70. He might have been 67, something like that, because he was a lot older than my mum. Yeah, and I remember I was teaching piano in my first house, which was a converted garage, and I was on dial-up internet, and my sister was trying to phone, and of course you're using a phone line for the computer in those days. Nobody could get through. There wasn't any mobiles really. And eventually she got through to BT to cut off my phone call so she could phone to say you need to get to the hospital. And yeah, unbelievable. That was very hard. Absolute life changer.
Yeah.
I honestly believe, I know you've gone through the same thing not so long back. And I don't know, if you're close to your dad, I honestly believe that you think you've got them forever. And that shock of them not being there anymore is unbelievable. I think it took me till about 2015 to feel what I'd class as normal, how I felt before. Mm-hmm. I really struggled with all the time. I wanted to be my dad, and try and, I was then the head of the family, I thought, and the responsibility of everybody fell on my shoulders, which after a few years now, I realised that the responsibility is each individual's responsibility. It's not the head of the family stuff. Each person's responsible for themselves. So the whole dad thing, oh man, absolute killer. It really nailed me into the floor.
Did you go through sort of stages of trauma?
Yeah. I've had probably 3 years of counselling.
Really?
Yeah, I wanted to know how to deal with stuff. I ended up catching depression, and stuff like that. So I've had lots of counselling.
How did you learn to cope?
You don't. It diminishes. That's what happens.
Through time or through your own mental strength?
Through your mental strength grows as time goes on. You think about it less the longer time passes. So it consumed, the death of my dad consumed my thoughts for years, and I was unable to do anything else. I wasn't sitting in a chair like moping around, but it was at the forefront of my mind for a long, long time. And it's had a detrimental effect on relationships and life, really. You know, because when things sort of aren't settled, I like to work a lot. So I worked a lot, you know, trying to put stuff to the back of your mind, but it was impossible until I'd spoken to people about it, and then realised how to sort of balance myself. It's a tough thing. So, but I think like my sister will always put a post on Facebook about the day my dad died and what a sad day. That's the worst fucking day I've ever had. I don't even know the date of it. I would rather remember his birthday than the worst day I've ever had. I think that's a bad thing to do. Let's be sad about the worst day I've ever had. Or be happy about the memories you got. You know, drives me mad. That does. You should never think about the death thing. The life thing is much more important.
Yeah.
You know, because the death thing, you can only think of extreme sadness. And the life thing, you can think about incredible happiness.
Yeah.
You know, so, but the death thing tries to consume, well, it did me for a long time. Can I ask you about you?
Of course.
Yeah. So with your dad, you're 27 now, and your dad passed away not so long back.
I think it was 2 years ago in February. I think.
Yeah.
So I was 25.
Yeah.
To be honest, it was a complete shock.
Yeah.
Yeah, real big shock. So I used to live with my dad. It was just me and him in a house, not so far away from here.
Yeah.
And he went through big stages of depression, anxiety, which all stemmed from him losing his dad.
Yeah.
When he was 12. Actually, I don't know if it was 9 or 12 years old, and he basically shot himself.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So that was a rough thing. My dad never ever dealt with till very late on, and it was almost too late in a way.
Yeah.
So he suffered for a long time, which sort of almost made him physically ill.
Yeah.
Which was really weird. So he was mentally ill, which eventually made him physically ill because of drink and trying to cope. But I didn't know he was actually physically ill.
Yeah.
And I was actually tattooing here, which is really weird. I was tattooing, and my auntie rang me and said, "Oh, have you seen your dad? Have you spoke to him?" I says, "No, I've just come back this morning and gone to work." And she said, "Oh, okay, well, I've been just come to see him, and he's not answering the door or anything like that." I says, "Oh, okay." I says, "I just thought he was at work." I says, "He sure he's not at work?" He says, "I don't know, his van's here." I says, "Okay."
Yeah.
And then I had this weird feeling in my bones. Do you know what I mean? And it was just like, okay, something's not right here. I don't know what it is, but something doesn't feel quite right.
Yeah.
And I had a break, so I had a client in, and then she was going. I had a lunch break, and then I had someone else in. So on my break, I thought I'd go back and just see what's going on.
Yeah.
And so I went back home, and as soon as I opened the front door, I just knew that the air wasn't quite right. Do you know what I mean? There's just something not quite right, and things are just clicking in my mind like, okay, something's not quite right here. And I basically went upstairs, and then I just opened his door, and I just seen his foot in the bed. And I just knew straight away. You just know. And I went into a real big stage of shock.
Yeah.
I didn't even know how bad the shock was at first, and I was just like, and then I kind of looked at him, and he just looked like he was asleep. Went downstairs, and it was so weird because his mate turned up who he worked for.
Yeah.
And was just like, "Have you seen your dad?" And I was just like, and I was just about to dial 999, and his daughter was in the car, so I was just trying to whisper to him because I didn't want to like scare her or anything like that. And I says, "Look, I think my dad's dead." Like, and
oh god,
to him, and he was like, because I was in shock. Do you know what I mean? I just walked out of my house trying to call 999, and he was just like, "Are you fucking joking?"
Yeah.
I was like, "No, I've just come home." Like, and he could see my face. I was in shock, and we both ran upstairs. I was trying to resuscitate him, and I was on the phone to 999. They come over, and he'd basically been gone for about 12 hours, which was pretty mad.
Bloody hell.
And I later found out. So it was weird because I thought back at it, and the night before, And I tortured myself for this for a lot. Well, still now probably, but in the night I heard a cough, and you know they say like the last, it's like the death rattle sort of thing. I heard like this weird cough in the night, and I thought that was weird, and I went back to sleep, and I thought, and it was actually exactly 12 hours prior to, and they said it would have been around. It looks like he's been gone for around 11 to 12 hours, and I thought that was it.
No way.
That was the moment, and I'd gone to work that morning, didn't check.
Yeah.
Obviously. And yeah, he would have gone around that point, and it always tortures me because I think, could I have saved him? Could I have? Do you know what I mean? And yeah, so I had to organise his funeral, everything like that myself, and well, with some help from my mom.
Yeah.
And it was tough. It was a really, really tough time. But I was in this weird state of shock. Like I almost felt I wasn't in my own body. I was sort of watching this thing happen.
Yeah.
And I wasn't quite there, and I almost didn't feel an emotional attachment to it, which was really strange. Like I'd have moments of I was crying, and I was obviously fucking worst day of my life, but it was almost my life was passing me by without being there. And when I went to go see someone in town with, funny enough, for counselling, she said to me that you're suffering from PTSD, a really strong case of PTSD, and I just broke down in this counselling session for about 2 hours. I could not breathe, like I just cry my eyes out, and I've struggled for probably a good few, since probably 6 months ago, with that self sort of, could I have helped, could I have saved him, could I have done this, could I have done that, a lot of self-torture, I suppose.
Yeah.
And it's only really now that I'm starting to try and manage it, and as you say, you know, just help myself feel better and control it as much as I can. Do you know what I mean?
It's difficult, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hardest thing I've done. I was so close to him, and he was such a great person. As I say, he always takes the best ones. So.
Yeah, I mean, me and my son, we have a great relationship. We're like best mates, you know, and I think we're actually more mates than me and my dad was, you know. So he's got an hard time coming at one stage. He just rolled his eyes as if to say, "Oh God," you know. But we've done some amazing things, me and my dad, and me and James, and I think from a bloke's perspective, you sort of, I don't know if you did, but I idolised my dad. And, you know, I've been fortunate enough to not have known anybody that's got a terminal illness where there's an inevitable time when they're going to die, which I think is good that I've not known that, obviously. But I've lost my train of thought again. But I don't know what I was going to say about that. But I have no idea. That's gone. Yeah,
it's gone.
Yeah. So yeah, it is tough.
Very tough. Yeah.
The parents. Do you get on well with your mum?
I do.
Yeah.
I think me and my mum sometimes can butt heads on opinion and the way we think about things.
Yeah.
But we mean well. She means well, and we do get on. Yeah. It was tough because she left my dad, you see, prior, and it was a tough sort of breakup in a way because my dad was struggling with depression. He lost his mate tragically as well, which stemmed it off as well. And I felt like she didn't just leave my dad; she left me as well to deal with my dad's illness. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And I was left by myself to deal with it. And that was a relationship that we've tried to rebuild over time, because I did feel like I'd lost someone who I needed to help with my dad. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I think it's always hard because you know you're going to... At the end of the day, we're all going to lose our parents. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And we've got to accept that. But when you're at that age, like 25 and 27, and it's difficult to comprehend that it's going to happen then. You
imagine you're going to be 60.
Yes.
And then it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So you put it to the back of your mind.
And for me, what upsets me the most now is knowing that when I have kids, that they're not going to know who their granddad was. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the only thing now that really gets to me. But other than that, do you know what I mean? He was a great person. He was a teacher as well. And
what did he teach?
He was a construction, so he used to teach bricklayers
Nice.
and stuff like that. Yeah. And all the lads, when he passed away, there were so many messages on his Facebook from lads that taught him and told all his funny stories and what a great teacher he was. Do you know what I mean? I'd never seen that before. That sort of that they'd heard about it and they were like, "Oh my God, what a great guy!" And that was really, really like. I think if he was to look back now, if he was able to see, that would have really, really, got him. That everyone was so thankful for what he did for them. Do you know what I mean? And
do you know? You're never fully sure of how people perceive you. You imagine you know how people perceive you. Yeah. And when you go to someone's funeral, and how people speak about a good person, isn't it a shame that you're not... People don't tell people that they're a good person.
During the time they're alive,
Yeah. You know, I get told it on a daily basis by my wife. She says, "You're a really good man and really respectful and, a very nice, kind person." And it's been a long time since I heard anything like that. I work hard. I look after everybody the best that I can do. And I try and live an easy, kind, happy life. That's it. But... when you go to somebody's funeral and you hear everybody talking about these people, what a lovely person they are, I always tell people that they're nice and they're kind and they look nice and they smell nice and, it's nice to just be nice, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
And I think there's not enough of that.
What did it teach you and how did it change you? Looking back at it, do you think it made... Like, I look back at my dad going and I see obviously that I've lost someone so close to me and I want to make proud of me, but also it's made me a lot stronger as a person. How has it affected you, do you think?
I think I had 2 children when my dad died, and I thought that I was a man as soon as I had my first child, which was 21 or 22. And I think that made me realise that I had no idea about life. I just thought I was as a bloke. Yeah, me and my dad always used to joke. He used to say, "If you haven't got hairs on your fingers, you're not a man." I'm just looking at my fingers now. I have but it's true. That really gave me a huge kick in the knackers and went, actually, this is what life is and how hard it is. And I think it made me a bit bitter towards everything, as in, how dare this happen? You know what I mean? Whereas, it took me a while to be grateful for what my dad was and how he was with me. Because I was a bit annoyed that he died. I think it's a very hard lesson. Even if you know it's coming, it's something that just is like nothing else. The death of like a grandma or an auntie or a more distant relative is hard, but a parent is unbelievable. Yeah. And I think it absolutely changes you because you've got to be more assertive. I think one thing that it's made me do is be more... If I want to do something, just do it, rather than going, "Oh, what are the consequences?" Not as in bad things, but like if I want to do a business or, something that you would normally give a great deal of consideration to and probably not bother. It's given me a bit more drive, as in, what's the worst that can happen? Well, that's the worst that can happen. Everything else you can sort.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's what it's done for me. It's very difficult to find. You have to get peace before anything. I don't think anybody can function without a peaceful brain. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Peace. So how did you come to peace with? Well, I suppose you haven't yet.
I have, yeah. And I think I had a conversation with my mom one day, which she said, your dad always worked too much, and he was always at work, and you're doing the same, and it doesn't help. Be more family, be less work, and stop trying to be your dad. You know, and I liked that. I felt like I was off the hook, you know, like I was trying to be my dad, and
you're allowed not to be.
Yeah. So and now I've been myself for, I don't know, about 7 years, 8 years, something like that. And not had to live up to this gentleman Bob. My dad was called Robert as well.
My dad was called Rob.
Really? No way.
Yeah. Coincidence.
That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, it's mad.
So, but yeah, it's so I don't have to live up to that anymore, which is quite nice. I think the realization that you are actually on your own, whether you're married or whatever, you're just a person, just trying to go through and have the nicest time you can while you're here. It is a real big thing. If you put everything on your shoulders and go, oh my God, I've got to do all this, I've got to do all that, I've got to do all this, and then you never get time to have for yourself. People think, you know, doing stuff for yourself is selfish. It is. That's what the word's all about, you know. You should do stuff for yourself. I'm the world's biggest, I can talk it, but I never do it. What's that word? I can tell people that what you should do. You know what I mean?
Bullshit.
Big ginger bastard. Yeah. Well, world's biggest bell end. You know what I mean, though?
Yeah,
where do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
That, you know, I honestly believe that people try so hard to do everything for everybody that they never get any time for themselves. And I've done that a lot. And it makes you miserable. You know, there's stuff that everybody wants to do, and you won't do it because somebody tells you not to, or you're doing it, you know, and you should do it.
Yeah.
Because you only get one go. You know, so if you want to go and, I don't know, I was going to say something really inappropriate there. I don't know how I held it back. Quick, ask another question.
Right, so what I want to do is I want to start kind of capping this off now.
Yeah.
I want you to give me 3 points you would tell yourself, 3 words of advice to your 21-year-old self.
Oh.
3 points, short points, words of advice, and you could go back right now. What would you say?
I need a second.
Go on.
The first point would be do stuff instead of waiting. So, you know, saving enough money to do something eventually, which never comes around because everything else gets in the way. Do it now because you might not be here tomorrow. I think that's the thing that I wished. Yep. No, not that I wished, that if I could tell my 21-year-old self. Second would be practice the piano more and be a better player. And don't imagine that you're as good as you are. be as good as you say. You know,
Yeah.
I think that's an important thing. And the third one, I think with hindsight of being 50, I've wasted a lot of time. You know, there's days after days after days have gone past of doing nothing. So I think do something every day that makes you happy rather than just going through life.
I love that.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah. Even if it's 10 minutes.
Amazing. Right, Rob, I want to thank you very much for being my first guest on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
It's been a good chat. How long has it been? 2 hours?
2 hours.
2 hours.
That's going to take me 50 years to edit.
No, I want to say a big thank you for coming on, dude. Really good chatting with you. Always a pleasure. And thank you for leading me through this this podcast.
And thank you for having me. I've loved it. It's been ever so good.
Oh, yeah, really do. I think we've had a really good chat.
I can't believe that we had the same dad's names and all sorts of stuff.
For instance, yeah. We have a similar sort of pattern, I think, and similar way of thinking as well, which is really good.
And while we've been on this podcast, I've been noticing the colour of your beard.
I was wondering how long that was going to take. I'm actually half Scottish.
Are you really?
No,
man.
I've got a bit of Welsh, but no Scottish.
I think it's a fine beard anyway. Well,
there's nothing on yours, dude. There's absolutely
look at it. Whoa.
Nothing on yours.
You're a wizard.
But thank you again, and it's been a pleasure, dude. And what I want you to do before you leave, is something that I want to keep doing. Is I want you to write down a question for the next guest.
Okay.
That arrives, yeah. And I'll give you a little book in a minute, and you can write down that.
I should do that.
Again,
thank you.
Pleasure. Thank you very much for tuning in.
See you.
See you later.